Hi, welcome back to another video. So it's Valentine's Day, and every Valentine's Day, my wife and I, of course, we give each other gifts, but our tradition is that we make each other gifts. My wife is someone who loves to do these little parties and get-togethers, and one of the things that she loves to have at those is like a photo booth, where people can just wear costumes and silly stuff and take a bunch of pictures. In the past, we've just used a tripod and a light. It's been really kind of ghetto. But I want to make her a really nice photo booth. Something that has a printer with it. She can just hook up her iPad and has good lighting and everything like that. And this thing's going to be sturdy enough that she can lend it out or even rent it out if she wants to. I'm going to build the frame out of this. This is extruded aluminum. It's called 40-40. That's 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters. It's about 1.5 inches square. And I bought several pieces that are 4 feet long. And so we're going to kind of use the 4 feet as our starting point. So it's going to be 4 feet tall, but for the base, I need to cut some smaller pieces. So luckily, aluminum is easy to cut. I just need to change the blade. I've got a wood blade on here. I'm going to switch it to this blade made for aluminum and non-ferrous metals. I'll give you a peek here at what my plan is. I just drew this up. It's not to scale or anything like that, but this picture has helped me figure out my cut list up here on the upper left corner. And then I just carefully measured these out, and I drew a line across. I've never cut aluminum this big before, but this cut beautifully. And it went right through, and you can see there are no burrs, there's no ugliness. It's very smooth, almost like the factory cut ends. And you can see that the aluminum comes with some protective stickers on it. It's really satisfying to pull off. So have a moment of satisfaction as I pull these off. Okay, I have laid out my base, and now it's time to connect them together. And I want to show you why I chose this aluminum and what makes it so cool. So there are different kinds of connectors. This is an inner angle connector, and it slides right inside these slots. You see it fits perfectly. And you use set screws right in there to hold it in place. Then you can take another piece and stick it together, put a set screw in that one, and there you've got a nice angle. So this is one of the methods I'm going to use. The other thing I'm going to use are these outside angles. I mean, I guess they're technically still an inside angle, but the connector is on the outside of the aluminum. And these are held in place using these special sliding nuts and a bolt. And we just screw it down, and it tightens up and holds it in place. Now, before I connect this all together, the inner bar, I have already slid on the nuts and some inside angles because I won't be able to slide those on once this is put together. And I'm just going to assemble the corners here. I found that it's really easiest if I just turn the screws by hand as far as I can, and then I can just slide it around into the right place and tighten it up with the Allen key. And here's the base fully assembled. Now this thing is aluminum, and this is going to be sitting on the floor. I don't want to scratch my floors, so I'm going to put some felt stickers on the four corners. Okay, now we need to build the main part of this. Let's call it the pillar. So this is just a couple of 4-foot long poles and then a crossbar on the top that's going to hold a ring light. And I bought a nice ring light, and it came with this tripod. And the light itself connects onto the tripod in this little aluminum peg. I need to somehow get this onto the crossbar. So I'm going to start by just cutting this right off in my bandsaw. And similar to my chop saw, I switched the blade to one that can cut aluminum. And it cut right off. And now we just need to figure out how to connect it into our aluminum crossbar. And I just want to show you what I mean here. So this is how the peg would go in. This tightens up, and then the ring light just sits on top. So I thought a lot about how I was going to connect this in, and I think that the best way is to just drill a hole that goes down deep enough, and then we can glue it in with some epoxy. If we have to, we can drill a screw hole in there and hold it in place. The problem was that I need to have a flat bottom to it also. And so I couldn't use a regular drill bit because it's like a cone. And what would be really nice is like a Forstner bit, but I don't have one of those. So what I've got here is a very cheap router bit that is the right diameter, and I'm just cutting extremely slowly. You got to be super patient so that it doesn't bite. And after some time, then we finally have a hole. And you can see that the peg fits in it perfectly. So now I'm going to mix up some 2-part epoxy and glue it in there. Okay, this is a 5-minute epoxy, and I'm just going to glob it everywhere. And because there's no stress on this particular joint, I think the epoxy will be fine to hold it in place. And got some little supports here to keep it vertical. And now, while we're letting this dry, I'm going to let it dry overnight. So let's get working on the shelf. Okay, this piece is the shelf for the printer. It's a 12-inch square. It will connect onto the main tower here, but we need a platform here so that the printer can sit on it. Also, I want to hook the power strip up underneath it, so we'll figure that out. But we're going to make the platform out of this. This is called PVC foam. It's fairly light, but also feels very sturdy. And it's a 12 by 12 square, so it's going to fit on right there. And what we need to do is drill some holes that line up with the slots, and then we can just put a few screws in there with slot bolts, and that'll hold it down. And I got this piece of plastic from the scrap bin at my local plastic store, and so it's the only one I have, so I want to make sure I do this right. So I'm starting with a pilot hole that's smaller, and then I'm going to go up to the bigger bit that's the full size. So these are the nuts I'm using. They're like half the width of the other ones. And now we can slide this right in. And actually I found out I don't need to slide them like this. They are the right diameter. They can just go straight down onto it, and then they turn inside and stick. And this looks great. All right, let's move on to the next piece. What I have here is a piece of white. Let's see if you can see it. Yeah, this is white translucent acrylic, like plexiglass. And this is going to be the front of the tower, and we're going to have LEDs behind it, so this will just kind of glow. Need to mount this onto the tower bars. So it's going to, this is a small piece, but it's going to sit like this all along. This is 4 feet tall. So drilling holes in acrylic is really scary. I don't have acrylic bits, ones that are made just for that, so I'm using regular wood bits. So I've got my drill press going as slow as it can go. I actually flattened the tip of this, flatten the sharp edges a bit, and I'm going extremely slowly, just like when I drilled into the aluminum. And I'm starting again with little thin pilot holes, but we need to get the holes a little bit bigger than we did on the shelf, so I'm going to use a stepper bit. This is a bit that goes just, it starts out small and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, it's shaped like a cone, you can see it here. And with all of the holes drilled, let's put together the center tower. So we'll start by doing some measuring to make sure that we've got it in the center. And now I'm placing it so that the outside angle has the inside connector, and then the inside has the outside angle connector. That's confusing as heck, but you can see what I'm doing. So we just put the little tiny set screws into this side. It's kind of slow. I ended up switching to a screwdriver that had the right size Allen key on it. Made it a lot faster. With both uprights on, now it's time to put the top crossbar. Our glue is dry, so we'll just slide this in and connect it up just like the other pieces. We need to figure out where the shelf needs to hook up, so again, more measuring. And this is the last piece I'm putting together, but now I have finally figured out that if I connect them on one side, it makes it a lot easier to put it all together. So we'll just slide this down into position. And we tighten this up, and we have our full frame assembled. So now it's just time to add all of the fancy parts. So we'll add on the shelf, and this time we'll tighten it down in place. And we connect the white acrylic to the front and tighten that one down. And here's what the front looks like. Nice. Now I want to cover the back side with this. This is ABS. It's shiny on one side and it's got this cool texture on the other side. I basically just need like a black covering on the back. So I'm going to cut this to size. We've got to have a little piece that fits above the shelf and then a bigger piece that fits under the shelf. And I know I'm jumping around a bit here, but underneath the shelf I need to connect all of the electricity, and so I've got a power strip that I'm going to connect underneath it, and we're going to connect it to this piece of wood, which I'm then going to glue up underneath the shelf. So I have kind of laid out all of the different parts that need to be connected here, and I will screw on the ones that can be screwed, and we're going to glue on the others. And the glue that I'm using is made especially for PVC, for gluing PVC to things like wood. So, because this is going to glue to the PVC foam. Oh, by the way, links to everything that I'm using for this project is down in the description. So if you feel like doing this yourself and you want to get some parts, it doesn't cost you anything extra and it helps me out. This fits perfectly right up underneath here, and I'm actually going to use some jaw clamps to hold it in place. This is the AC adapter for the printer, and there is another one that will be used for the light ring, and I'm just going to glue them up onto the piece of wood, and using a scrap piece of wood and some clamps will hold it in place. Okay, it is the next day, and that's all dry. So now we're going to add the LEDs, and this is just some LED light strips that have, a sticker on the back. And I'm going to go all the way around the inside of this, and I'm going to do 2 loops. Now I'm going to add the ABS backing. You can see I added a little bit of a notch here on one side. But I also need access hole on the other side for the cables to come up through. These cables, it's the power for the light and for the printer. And this is easy enough to do with a stepper bit. I'll just keep making this a little bit bigger and bigger until I can slide these cords through. And for the bottom section, I needed another access hole for the main cord to the power strip. I don't want to make a gigantic hole, so instead what I'm going to do is cut a hole just big enough for the cord, and then a thin slot leading up to it that will let the cord slide up to it. This cord is weird. It's like flat. You'll see as I put it in here. Now we just slide the cord up through the slot into its comfy little hole and connect this piece up just like all the others. And now for the final touches. The ends of these rails are kind of ugly and they're actually a little bit sharp. So I have these plastic caps that will fit right over them, and we just give them a little pound. And I installed this switch in line for the LED lights so I can just turn the front lights on and off, and I'm going to connect them down with a piece of double-sided tape. And now I just connect the ring light onto the peg. And with that, we're all done. Let's take a look at the final result. This project was really fun. It was fun using new material, and I know she's just gonna love it. Hey, if you liked this video, please help me out by giving it a thumbs up. That will let YouTube know that other people might also like it. If you want to see more videos like this and me making stuff in the future, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. Till next time, don't be bored, be creative.